Navigating Nonprofit
I'm
Egos.
also seeing a lot of growth,
Collaboration
and this is
trumps
not just for
competition
nonprofits, right?
for real community impact.
Humanity in general, right? Which permeates for profit, nonprofit, right? Um, which creates, in my opinion, particularly in the nonprofit space, unnecessary competition, right? So yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, there's 4 or 5 nonprofits that are doing the exact same thing. Like, is your work repetitive, right? Are you competing for the same dollars to do the same thing in the same neighborhoods for the same people? Is that beneficial to those people, right? Is that
Yeah.
beneficial to your mission? I mean, I don't know that it is. Again, that's me speaking for myself, and
Mhm.
not anybody else. But I really think, generally speaking, people need to find ways to work together,
Yeah, I know,
right?
like, I retired from the Army, and there's so many fucking Army nonprofits, right? It's
Hmm.
ridiculous, right? So many veteran nonprofits. It's like literally hundreds of thousands, right?
Sure, sure.
And for perfect example, down at JBLM down by Fort Lewis, there's 3 nonprofits, right?
Yeah.
One is deep sea fishing,
Okay.
one is fishing on a lake, and one is river fishing,
Okay.
and they refuse to work together.
That's an ego thing?
It's
It
insane,
sounds
right?
like,
Like,
right? Like I don't.
it's
Yeah.
fishing, right? Like,
Right.
and yeah, they like, so my thing is like, okay, are you really for veterans, or you just want this nonprofit to pay your salary and say I'm the executive director or something, right?
There's a thing in entrepreneurship or the startup world called founder syndrome, right? And I do think that it's human personality driven, right? It's ego driven, right? Like your decisions are influenced by your own personal bias. It's not necessarily the success or the impact of your company or your nonprofit organization, right? Which I think creates the kind of maybe the competitiveness that you're seeing with those 3 organizations
Mhm.
down there, right? Where it's what are you designed to do, right? Like, what is your purpose? What is your end goal, right? Like, how do you measure success? I think you asked that question earlier, right? Like, is that going to be limited by not working with somebody else, right? Is there a reason why you 2 can't work together? Is it a personal thing? Is it because I wanna see the success of my organization as the purveyor of this service in this area, which means I've gotta box everybody else out, right? But, like, to what detriment, right, to the communities or the people that you're intending to serve? I think that it needs to be looked at, right? Like, I don't think you get into the nonprofit space without submitting to the idea that your wants, your personal wants aren't necessarily important, right? It's the needs of the individuals or the communities or the audience that you're designed to serve is what's most important always. And that's a hard thing to do, right? Like I think human nature oftentimes, dictates our action, um, our habits, and unfortunately, sometimes for the worse, right? Again, I think that really permeates oftentimes nonprofits, for profits, well, right? Even personal relationships, it does.
So how do you do this, right? I think it's a trick situation.
Mhm.
Like, suppose you have a success story, you put up family housing, but how do you like take advantage, right? Like, how do you showcase that out? Because I'm thinking there's privacy concerns. We can't put like the Bob Jones family on social media to show, hey, they went from homeless to being at a house, right?
Mhm.
So how do you like take advantage of your success stories to like how being a fundraiser? Like, hey, we're doing the good work, right?
That's
Without
yeah.
the privacy aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's more of a marketing thing, right?
Mm.
Like, than even in nonprofit space, right? Like, I mean, I think any company, for profit, nonprofit, wants to be able to share in their successes, and sometimes their successes are tied to the individuals that are either purchasing the product or recipients of the services you provide. And that's probably a case by case basis, right? Like, again, I can't speak for Mercy Housing exactly how they do it. Again, I'm still kind of learning and getting uh, uh, the opportunity to continue to look under the hood and figure out some of those things, right? And part of that is, a responsibility as a board member is to be able to lend my expertise to be able to do things better, right? I'm still in the learning phase there, right? So as far as specifics around sharing success stories, like that is something that I think that falls kind of within my wheelhouse. And there's always privacy issues, right? Privacy issues are you overcome those issues with consent. Clearly, there's a bit of a process around consent, and then the work that needs to be done in order to share that kind of stuff, right? But I think it's really kind of a case by case basis.
And so by joining the board of directors, you have any personal goals or like business goals or being on board of directors?
No, I mean, not like I feel that if you're joining a board of directors for a nonprofit organization, you kind of have to remove all, you know, personal ambition or
Mhm.
business ambition. That's
If
not
only everyone thought like that.
right. Like, I mean, sure, right. Again, like that's what I'm saying. Like, I think naturally there's like this human ego element that says, like, survival instinct, right? I got to look out for myself first, right? I really think that to be an effective board member, like you are there to help that organization serve their mission in the most effective way possible, right? And you really have to kind of think of like that in every bit of work you do for them. So for me, like I don't see any personal benefit outside of being able to help them serve things that I care about, right? Um,
Let me ask you
for
this:
me,
like,
yeah,
suppose you've been on the board like for say 2 years.
yeah.
In 2 years, let's say um, you gave like advice on 20 different things, like,
Mhm.
and all 20 times they ignored your advice.
Sure.
Like, are you gonna like, keep on being on the board? You were like, man, you don't like, at least throw me a bone once in a while. I can know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Or
Well, I mean, I think most people, and I'm going to speak for myself, you join a board because you care already about the work that they're doing or they're designed to do, right?